Well, any day the Seahawks sign a four-time Pro Bowler is a good day. And that's exactly what happened today. So, guys, today is a great day to be a Seahawks fan as DeMarcus Tank Lawrence is coming to Seattle. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Tevin Jenkins, who is visiting Seattle on Monday, and some interesting comments that John Schneider made about the future of the Seahawks and the past of the Seahawks regarding Geno Smith and DK Metcalf. But first, guys, the big news of the day. DeMarcus Lawrence is coming to Seattle after 11 seasons with the Dallas Cowboys. He has found a new home. He signs a 3-year deal with the Seahawks, $18 million guaranteed, a max value of $42 million. So it's very much an incentive-laden contract. That's according to Adam Schefter. News first broke on Wednesday afternoon. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler with Dallas entering his age 33 season. He started off in 2014. He was drafted with in the second round with the 34th overall pick, so he just missed out on being a first-round pick. He was 2 picks away from the first round, but obviously he was a first-round talent. Everybody thought that he was. Didn't start any games in his rookie season, but then in 2015 he broke out. 13 games started, 8 sacks, 55 tackles, 1 safety, 12 quarterback hits, 14 tackles for a loss. After that, he got hurt, had a lot of injuries in his 2016 campaign, only started 3 games. But then in 2017, he again kind of broke out for a second time. He started all 16 games. He forced 4 fumbles. He came away with 14 and a half sacks, the most in his career, 58 tackles, 26 quarterback hits for an approximate value rating of 14. He was 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting that year. He was an All-Pro. He was a Pro Bowler. He followed that up with another Pro Bowl year in 2017 when he went for 10 and a half sacks in 15 games. After that, he kind of started to scuffle in 2019, 5 sacks, and then in 2020, 6 and a half sacks. Then he only managed 3 sacks in 7 games in an injury-riddled 2021 campaign. In 2022, he was back to being a Pro Bowler. He started all 17 games, only 6 sacks, but 3 forced fumbles, 2 recovered fumbles, 65 tackles, 9 tackles for a loss, 13 quarterback hits, and an approximate value of 13. So he really kind of stepped it up back in 2022. And then again in 2023, 17 games started. He ended up with 1 forced fumble, 4 sacks, 50 tackles. But here's the kicker, 8 quarterback hits, 10 tackles for a loss, an approximate value of 11, and he was a 4th-time Pro Bowler. Last year, in his age 32 season, he only started 4 games, and he missed the other 13 with an injury. But in those 4 games, he had 3 sacks, 14 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, 5 quarterback hits, and 1 forced fumble. So he actually had a really, really good 4 games, but he only played in 4 games. So in his career, he started 123 games. He has 61 and a half sacks. He has about 8 recovered fumbles, 20 forced fumbles, 450 tackles, 97 tackles for a loss, and 126 quarterback hits. So essentially, in each game, he's been worth about 1 quarterback hit per game and about half a sack per game. That's pretty good. I'll definitely take that on the D-line. Is he the same player that he used to be? Probably not, but that's why this contract makes a lot of sense, because it is very much an incentive-laden contract. He's going to be reunited with Aiden Durde, who was the Cowboys' defensive line coach before the Seahawks hired him this year, and actually to be the coordinator of Mike McDonald's defense. He played in just 4 games in 2024 because of a right mid-foot sprain that he suffered against the New York Giants. He was on the injured reserve, and he could have maybe returned, but he decided not to. The Cowboys were not very good, obviously. They were 7-10 last year. Definitely one of the better two-way defensive ends in the league, because he can play the run and he can affect the quarterback. In 2019, he actually signed the richest deal in Cowboys history for a defensive player. He signed a 5-year, $105 million guaranteed contract. But unfortunately, like I said, obviously 2 of those 5 years were filled with, actually 3 of those 5 years were filled with injuries. The other 2, he was a Pro Bowler. So when he's healthy, he's always been pretty good, but he has been kind of an injury risk type of a player. Still, I'm very happy with DeMarcus Lawrence. He actually made some interesting comments after he left Dallas. He said he knew for sure he wasn't going to win a Super Bowl with the Dallas Cowboys, kind of taking shots at his old team, and Micah Parsons fired back on his podcast, whatever. But I do think that's interesting that he says he didn't think he could win a Super Bowl in Dallas, but he does think potentially he could win one in Seattle. So I love to hear that. All right, moving on. Tevin Jenkins is going to be coming to Seattle on Monday. Free agent guard. We've been talking for a long time. Yesterday, our entire video was about potential free agent targets on the offensive line. And now we hear that Tevin Jenkins is going to be coming in for a visit in Seattle. I don't know if Tevin Jenkins is kind of that top of the line guy, but he's one of the best guards that is still available. He's been with the Chicago Bears for the past 4 seasons. He was formerly a second-round pick, and similar to DeMarcus Lawrence, he was a 39th overall pick, so very close to being a first-rounder. And in the past 4 seasons, he has started 38 games, including 14 last year. His approximate value has been 5 in each of the past 3 years. So again, pretty much an average guard, not the kind of game-changing player you might be looking for, but at the same time, definitely not a bad player either. He's been able to put up pretty much average stats, as a guard. He's also been able to play tackle. He started actually as a tackle out of college. Comes from Topeka in Kansas. And he played for Oklahoma State. He was a D1 Big 12 player. So he's got, good experience throughout his whole career. I can't say I'm in love with the idea of bringing in a Bears offensive lineman just because, watching the Bears offensive line for the past couple of seasons, it seems like they haven't really done a very good job protecting Caleb Williams and Justin Fields before that. But at the same time, the Seahawks need offensive line help. And Tevin Jenkins could be that guy. He's going to be coming in for a visit on Monday. He does have some injury history, but at the same time, he's still fairly young. He probably would be somewhat cheap. But there is quite a few people, Seahawks Twitter appears to be kind of conflicted on whether they actually want him. Personally, I would still prefer Mekhi Becton from the Jets, but I think that either one of them would be a decent player to add to this offensive line. I still do think the Seahawks need to add some offensive line help. They did just add Josh Jones. He's more kind of a backup, kind of flux offensive line type of player. I think Tevin Jenkins would be much more better suited as a starter. And I think they do need, more starting caliber guys on the line. All right, to close this video out, guys, I want to talk a little bit about what John Schneider was saying. He actually made some comments that said, he said the Seahawks wanted to keep Geno and DK Metcalf in 2025. He said the team really had to pivot because, both of those players requested to be traded away. That's very similar to reporting we've heard from Bob Condata of the Seattle Times. Obviously, at first, it kind of felt like the Seahawks were the ones who maybe wanted to get rid of Geno and DK, but DK is the one who requested a trade, so you really can't blame the Seahawks for that. And Geno, it sounds like, pretty much also did the same thing. He wanted to leave Seattle. According to the reports that I've heard, the Seahawks offered Geno Smith a contract around the $40 million a year mark. So that's significantly more than what we're paying Sam Darnold, right? We're paying Darnold $33 million a year. And apparently we offered Geno $40 million a year. That's an absurd amount of money. And Geno declined that offer. He did not counteroffer, and instead he asked for a trade. Now, it's pretty telling that the Raiders still have not offered him a new contract either, because clearly I think Geno just wants more than what he's worth. I understand he threw for a lot of yards. I also understand that he's had a winning season each of the past 3 years. And yes, I do understand that his completion percentage was really good last year and has been good pretty much every season with the Seahawks. At the same time, he only threw 20 touchdown passes, 22 total touchdowns on the season, and he turned the ball over 15 times through the air and a couple fumbles as well. So he's averaging about 1 turnover a game, and he was barely over 1 touchdown a game. It's hard to justify paying that guy any more than $40 million. The Seahawks were willing to get up to $40 million, but Geno apparently wants $45 million or potentially even more than that. And again, that's just a lot of money to pay a guy whose touchdown to interception ratio was not even 1.5 to 1. Sam Darnold last year had a touchdown to interception ratio that was almost 3 to 1. He threw 35 touchdowns and 12 picks. That's a lot better than Geno Smith. Again, I understand Geno had a great completion percentage. That's awesome. Completion percentage is not the only thing that makes a quarterback. So I think Geno maybe is valuing himself a little too much. That's kind of what the comments from John Schneider make it sound like. Because, yeah, if we offered him, we definitely offered him a contract, and according to Bob Condata, it was over $40 million a year. And he didn't even counter offer. I guess maybe he was either A, he was disrespected by the offer we gave him, which again, if you're disrespected by $40 million a year after only throwing 20 touchdowns in the season, I don't know what to tell you. and B, it might have just been that Geno really missed playing with Pete Carroll and wanted to play with him again, and the Seahawks respected that, and that's why he ended up in Las Vegas. Either way, guys, that's just all a lot of speculation, but it is interesting to hear that Schneider saying himself he would have wanted to keep Geno and DK around if it was up to him. Because I would have agreed. I would have kept them too if it was up to me. But it wasn't up to me. They're the ones who asked for a trade, and thus they have been traded. With that all being said, guys, I want to thank you for watching this video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you want more Seahawks content. We'll see you guys tomorrow, and as always, until next time, go Seahawks.